some devastating news, I would say, but I don't think it was unexpected given the time period of the season. Caitlin Clark announced on her social media that she will miss the rest of the season. She captioned it in short, in part, "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with a singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling." She was limited to 13 games this season.
The news hit like a ton of bricks, but honestly, was anyone truly surprised? Caitlin Clark, the very heart of the WNBA's explosive revival, took to social media to deliver a brutal update. Her words were soaked in disappointment. She said, and I quote, "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season." She talked about those endless hours in the gym, that singular goal of getting back on the court, and admitted that disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how she feels. Just 13 games. That's all we got this year. But this isn't just a story about an injured athlete. This is a 5-alarm fire for the entire WNBA. And if they're not absolutely terrified right now, they're not paying attention. Stick around, because what we're about to break down is the league's single biggest nightmare slowly coming true. And if you're seeing the bigger picture here, smack that like button and subscribe for more truth bombs that everyone else is too scared to talk about.
How I am feeling. She was limited to 13 games this season, and she hasn't played since July 15th when she suffered a right groin injury in the final minute of the Fever's win versus the Sun right before the All-Star game.
I mean, that's our girl. That's our girl. And I feel like no matter what happened, you have to protect you and you have to protect your career. There's no reason to force anything. And I feel like her just kind of having that approach of doing what's best for her is all we can ask for, because we'd rather Caitlin sit out and then come back next season and we're ready to roll and we're ready to rock. And so we've just been supporting her and she's been supporting us. She's always there. We're getting to watch film and she's in there walking through saying, "Hey," and we're like, get out, go do what you need to do. But I mean, she's still the same. And I feel like our approach, because we've been missing her for so long, is just to come in and compete. And we have a good rhythm, I think, with everyone that's came in. And so just keeping that as our main focus.
The first person to really speak the raw, unfiltered truth into this mess was a legend who's been to the wars herself, Candace Parker. She didn't just offer a generic get well soon message. She basically confirmed that Clark made the only smart decision possible. Parker spoke from brutal experience, admitting that later in her own career, she pushed her body weight past its limits, ignoring the screaming warning signs, and it cost her dearly. Her advice to Clark was essentially a direct message to the league itself. She said playoff basketball is a different beast, more physical, faster, and downright dangerous. It's not the place for a player coming off a major injury to test their limits. Parker argued that bringing Clark back in that environment wouldn't just be risky, it would be irresponsible. She flat out said she was proud of this generation for taking the time they need for looking at the bigger picture. That's not just support. That's a devastating indictment of the old way of doing things, the way the WNBA has always operated.
And taking the time. And there is a difference in being a role player and coming in and playing a role and coming in off of an injury. There is a rhythm. But when you are Caitlin Clark and you have the ball in your hands and you are on the other team's scouting report, to come in half and not be able to be in that amount of, I would say, rhythm of the game, because the rhythm of the game changes towards the end of the year. And so when it started getting closer to the end of the regular season, I was like, it's dangerous to come back during playoff basketball because the whole flow, the physicality, all of that is different. And so I know it's difficult to kind of take time and understand the big picture, especially when you're living with tunnel vision and you've worked so hard to get to where you're at, but it's the smart thing. And I'm proud of this generation for taking the time they need, looking at the bigger picture, and making sure that they get healthy. So, Caitlin Clark, hope you feel better. You have a great offseason and you come back.
Parker was essentially telling Clark, your long-term future is infinitely more valuable than whatever ratings bump the league wants from a playoff game. And she is 1000% right. But here's where this gets really scary for the WNBA. This isn't just about losing a good player for the playoffs. This is about the entire league realizing its recent success is built on a house of cards. Let's be brutally honest for a second. The WNBA didn't suddenly figure out the secret formula to sports marketing. Attendance didn't magically double because of a new logo. TV ratings didn't shatter records because of a clever commercial. It all happened because of one person. Caitlin Clark. She is the catalyst. Every metric, from jersey sales that flew off the shelves to arenas packed with fans who'd never watched a WNBA game before, points back to her. She brought a mainstream audience with her from college, and that audience followed her to the pros. They didn't come for the WNBA brand. They came for a brand, for her logo threes, for her record-breaking highlights. The league finally got its first real taste of legitimate, can't-be-ignored relevance. And it all came from a second-year player.
Well, Coach Steph White had said that they were hopeful that Clark would return by the end of the regular season, but Caitlin was unable to fully reincorporate back into practice. And, she had never missed a game in her collegiate career or first year in the WNBA. So this is definitely a blow, I'm sure, for the organization, but also for her. Fever went 8-5 when Clark played and 15-15 without her. You all did win the Commissioner's Cup for the first time in franchise history without her. So maybe that is also another precursor. But big picture from the outside looking in, I have been a player that has had a number of injuries, and I think later in my career especially, some of those injuries.
Now that player is in street clothes, and the league is left scrambling, hoping the fans she brought will stick around. But what if they don't? What if they only came for her? Which leads us directly to the reason she's not on the court in the first place. The WNBA's catastrophic failure to protect its golden goose. This is the core of the instant regret. Fans watched game after game, as Clark was treated like a tackling dummy. Defenders body-checked her, clotheslined her, and shoved her to the floor with ferocity that looked more like a personal vendetta than professional basketball. The trash talk crossed lines. The elbows flew, and through it all, the referees often seemed to have left their whistles in the locker room. The league office remained silent, seemingly okay with this being labeled as physical play or initiation. But let's call it what it was, a failure of the highest order. They were so busy cashing the checks her popularity brought in that they forgot to ensure the product she was delivering was actually safe for her to play. They allowed an environment where targeting the league's biggest star wasn't just tolerated, it was almost encouraged. And now, the consequence of that negligence is sitting on the bench in a suit. The very star they leaned on for survival was broken down by the very system they refuse to fix. The regret isn't just instant, it's deserved. And this failure opens the door to a question that should have the league's executives losing sleep at night. What if Caitlin Clark just quits? This isn't some far-fetched fan theory anymore. The whispers are turning into real conversations, moving from passionate fan comments into sober analysis in boardrooms and sports networks. Why would she willingly subject her body and her long-term career to a league that has shown a stunning inability to safeguard its most valuable asset? She's already proven her marketability is absolutely through the roof, transcending the sport itself. The cold, hard truth is this: she doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA desperately needs her. Think about her options, which are vast and incredibly lucrative. She could jump straight into a massive broadcasting career tomorrow. Major sports networks would instantly be in a furious bidding war for her insight, her name recognition, and her ability to connect with a brand new generation of fans. Her endorsement potential is already rivaling the biggest, most established names in all of sports, not just basketball. The offers are undoubtedly already on the table, but it goes even deeper than that. She could easily choose to go play overseas for a few seasons. The financial package would be staggering, often tax-free, for a much shorter and less physically grueling schedule. And perhaps most enticingly, she would likely finally get the superstar treatment from referees who see her as a prized attraction to be protected, not a rookie to be hacked and tested. European leagues understand the economic value of a star and officiate accordingly. Or she could pivot entirely and build her own media and business empire, creating original content, launching a production company, and developing opportunities entirely around her powerful name and brand. She has already built the foundation. Walking away from the court wouldn't diminish that. It might even accelerate it. She would be more than fine. She would thrive. But the WNBA? If Clark makes the calculated decision to walk away, the impact will be nothing short of catastrophic. It's over for this current era of unprecedented growth. The entire facade comes crashing down. The merchandise sales, which saw her jersey become a historic bestseller, evaporate. The sold-out road games, filled with fans wear her number who may never have attended a WNBA game before, become a thing of the past. The intense national TV buzz, the constant highlights on sports shows, the viral moments, it all vanishes overnight. The league would be forced to confront the uncomfortable reality that this renaissance wasn't built on a sustainable model of broad-based popularity. It was built on the magnetic draw of one singular personality. The collapse would be swift and brutal. Television ratings would inevitably plummet back to their pre-Clark levels, and those coveted television deals would be under immediate threat. Corporate sponsors who jumped on the bandwagon would just as quickly jump off, their investment now lacking its primary catalyst. The league would collapse back into the state of niche relevance it has been fighting for decades, all because it couldn't be bothered to protect the one person who changed everything. The instant regret would be palpable, a devastating case study in how a league mismanaged its golden ticket. The executives who failed to act would be left with nothing but empty arenas and a haunting question. What if we had just protected our star? So we arrive at the point of no return. Caitlin Clark's injury is more than a medical report. It's the loudest wake-up call the WNBA will ever get. This is their moment of instant regret, a terrifying preview of what a future without her looks like. The league is standing on a cliff, and one wrong move sends them right back to obscurity. They have a simple, stark choice to make, and the clock is ticking louder than ever before. This is no longer about a single season or a single player's recovery. It's about the fundamental identity and survival of the league itself. The path they choose next will define them for the next decade. They can finally step up and fundamentally change. This means more than just releasing a statement or implementing a minor rule tweak. It requires a complete overhaul of the on-court product. They must change the officiating from the ground up, mandating that referees call the game with a zero-tolerance policy for the dangerous, non-basketball physicality that has been masquerading as tough defense. This isn't about softening the game. It's about protecting its integrity and its players. It means ejecting players for a clear, flagrant attempt to injure, not just slapping them with a minor foul. It means investing in referee training focused specifically on protecting star players who are consistently targeted, understanding that their safety is synonymous with the league's financial health. Furthermore, they must actively change the culture itself. The league office must publicly condemn the kind of play that has put them in this position, sending an unambiguous message to every team and player that targeting opponents will be met with severe fines and suspensions. This cultural shift extends beyond the court. They must change how they support and promote their athletes, moving beyond simply leveraging Clark's fame for clicks and actually building a system that nurtures her talent and ensures her longevity. This could mean investing in better travel conditions, superior medical and recovery facilities, and marketing campaigns that celebrate skill and competition rather than passively allowing narratives of rivalry to boil over into something uglier. They can prove they've learned their lesson and that they're finally worthy of the superstar they lucked into. This path is difficult. It requires humility, but is the only path toward a sustainable future. Or they can stay the course. They can choose the path of least resistance, clinging to the outdated notion that this kind of attention, even if it's born from controversy, is still good for business. They can keep cashing those short-term checks from the increased ticket sales and TV ratings her name generated, while willfully ignoring the long-term damage being done to their most important product, the game itself. They can continue letting their biggest asset get battered every night, cross their fingers, and hope she doesn't notice a lack of support. They can dismiss the growing fan anger as a temporary outcry, believing that this too shall pass. But if they choose wrong, if they ignore this final warning, the consequences will be irreversible. The next announcement from Caitlin Clark might not be about shutting down her season. It might be about shutting the door on the WNBA for good. And if that happens, they'll have no one to blame but themselves. The arenas will quiet down. The national spotlight will turn elsewhere. The narrative will shift from the incredible rise of women's basketball to a cautionary tale about a league that had everything handed to it and still managed to fail. The regret won't just be instant. It will be eternal, a permanent stain on the legacy of everyone in charge. The choice is that simple, and the stakes have never been higher. What do you think? Is Caitlin Clark's departure from the WNBA a real possibility? Or is this all just speculation run wild? Could the league actually survive if she walked away? Let me know your deepest thoughts down in the comments below. And if this breakdown hit home, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button for more content they don't want you to hear.